Anytime I decorate a room or anytime a friend of mine wants to decorate, the first questions are, how do I get started? What steps do I need to use? How am I going to make any decisions when I'm trying to decorate a space? I have 8 fail-proof steps. If you take these steps, you will be able to decorate your space in the way that you want it to look, and you'll be able to do it quickly and maybe even on a budget. Step number 1, what is the overall purpose of the room? I know that sounds very obvious, but you have to be very honest with yourself. Sit down and think about how the space will be used, but also think about who will be using that space. If you're going to do a guest bedroom, who's going to use that guest bedroom? Are these going to be out-of-town guests, friends, family, children, older adults? All of those things will determine what your selections will be for that room. It may even decide what colors you use, what types of furniture you use, what type of flooring. So think about every aspect of usage and purpose for that particular space. Step number 2, choose your overall look. This could mean that you want different shades of green or different shades of blue, but it also may mean you want a particular style. It could also mean you want a certain feel. Examples, you move into an arts and craft home, maybe you want to use the arts and craft style for all of your rooms. That will determine many of your selections. Maybe you're moving into a beach house or a lake house or a mountain home. Sometimes those themes or colors are predetermined based on the areas that you're going to be moving into. Maybe you just really like the color blue and you want everything in the house to relate back to the color blue. You can approach it from many different perspectives, but still you need to have an idea of the overall look of your house. Don't feel like you have to stick with one particular style in one room. You can mix and match, that's fine. Something will have to unify it. It could be the color, fabrics, and it could be the actual furniture types themselves, but choose that overall look. That's probably the hardest thing to decide. I always go to Pinterest or to file folders. I will rip pictures out of magazines, put those pictures into file folders, or I will use Pinterest boards to just collect different things that I like. I will find myself gravitating towards one particular board or folder. Then I will build out the rest of the area. Always remember to organize your thoughts in some way, whether it's physically with folders or digitally using Pinterest or Houzz or some other application that will help you organize your ideas. Number 3, choose your fabrics. Very important. I also include wallpaper in this selection process because that feels a lot like fabric to me as well, and wallpaper is really hot right now. So if you're going to choose wallpaper for your room, do this at the same time you're selecting your fabrics. You'll want to match your paint colors to that later. It's very important to do this as early on in the process as possible. If you go to a fabric store, even to a wallpaper store, you can get samples to bring home and look at in the light of your space. The light in the space can affect the way the colors look. So take the time to either buy a half a yard of patterned fabric. Always important to buy a larger sample of patterned fabric. If you have a solid fabric, just get the free samples that they'll cut for you at the fabric store. Bring those home, see how they look in the light, and see if the shades are what you want them to be. Same thing with wallpaper. You can rent the books, bring them home, check them out, try the colors. You can even order samples from the company and they will send you those samples. They can be a lot like dye lots though. Be careful if you are looking at wallpaper or fabric. Make sure that you're buying all of it from the same lot or same roll of fabric because the shading can be slightly different. Step number 4, choose your hard surfaces. This is a harder one because these are the more expensive items, your flooring, carpeting, any rugs you may want to choose, and also tile countertops depending on the space. These are your big ticket items. I love all of the new selections that are out there right now. I, though, am on a limited budget in most cases. If you are not, and if you are someone who can change out these things on a pretty regular basis, sky's the limit. You can do some really fun stuff. If you are on a budget like me, I'm gonna say go with the neutrals, go with something that's a little bit safer, and bring in your crazy stuff in your less expensive items such as pillows, fabrics, and maybe the occasional throw or upholstered chair. Step number 5, choose your paint. This is my favorite part. I love paint. I love paint because it's so flexible. You can buy a small can, bring it home, paint it on a wall, check the lighting, see if you like it. And if you don't like it, it's so easy to correct. You can also have custom colors made. It's not expensive to do that. I highly suggest that you test these in the room that you want to work on. Lighting is kind of crazy. You have natural light coming through windows, you have overhead lighting, you have lamp light. Make sure you're testing these colors in all of those situations because it will change the look of your paint, and it may look different during the daytime than it does at night. Another thing to consider with paint, this is where you can get a little bit more crazy. If you don't like the color after you paint a wall, if you get tired of a color after a couple of years, this is probably one of the cheapest things that you can fix, change, update, whatever you want to do. Paint is going to be the cheapest one to fix. So you can have a little bit more fun with it. My favorite color is green. I'm still afraid to just go total green on all my walls. I find myself still going a little neutral and bringing my greens in with fabrics, maybe a wallpaper, I don't know, probably still would go neutral with my wallpaper, but I bring the greens in with other decorative items. If you want to play it safe, neutrals will always be the way to go. You can still give the room a very rich, full, and warm feeling if you go with the neutrals. Step number 6, choose your wood tones. They don't all have to match. You have your flooring, cabinetry, you have furniture. In some cases, you may even have paneling on the walls that is stained. Some people have stained woodwork. If you have any of those things, don't worry too much about matching them perfectly. It's nice to have a layered look in any room, and it's nice if it looks like it was built over time instead of just pulled out of a furniture store, shoved into a room, and done. Maybe you want a painted piece in your room. Maybe you would like to have bamboo, rattan, or wicker. One piece like that in a corner really adds some texture. It will still add the depth of, say, a painted piece or a wood piece, but having that extra texture really brings something special to the room. So think about layering those things. You can have a painted piece, a plain wooden piece, and a bamboo, wicker, or rattan type piece, maybe even an acrylic piece. Pull all of those in, you'll have this lovely layered room that feels like it has some depth and some interest to it. Step number 7, choose your lighting. For me, lighting is to a room what jewelry is to an outfit. If you have a really special classic piece, it can change the whole look of your room. Think very carefully about how much you want that piece to shine, how much character you want it to bring into a room, or do you want it to sit back and only provide lighting? In a dining room, you want that chandelier to really add more than just lighting. You want it to add some character. Dining rooms really don't have a lot going on in them, so it's helpful to add the character with curtains, with lighting, with art hanging on the walls, because there's not a lot of place for fabric and pillows and throws and things like that. In a dining room especially, you want a very special piece of lighting. Same goes for a foyer. There's not a lot you can put in a foyer or a hallway. You really want something unique and special. This could be a wow moment in a room where there's not much going on. It could really define the look of the room. Now, my last step, number 8, is a step for those of us who are always finding ourselves on a budget. That would be consider the pieces that you currently have and how you're going to work those into your room. I have recently inherited some pieces that I truly love. However, I inherited those pieces pretty late in my decorating life, and I'm having to make a lot of decisions about what I'm going to keep and what I'm not going to keep. Though you're grateful to have these pieces, it's a little bit harder to work with them because maybe you didn't choose them, but you love them. How are you going to work with these things? I would say when you're over 50, you're going to run into these types of things a lot because we have aging parents, aunts and uncles who are kind enough to leave things for us, and you want to work them into your room. You want to make sure you use these special items, but you're gonna have to figure out a way to keep the room from looking too old, museum-like, and to keep it from looking like somebody else's room and not yours. Make sure you consider these pieces very carefully If you're going to use some older pieces, make sure you bring in something a little bit more modern. It can be art, it could even be a color. I've seen people use some really deep, dark wall colors, things close to a black or a really deep brown or a deep, deep olive green that has modernized the look of some older, maybe stodgier looking pieces. And that juxtaposition of new with the old really kind of levels things out and gives it a really fresh look. Think about doing that with your fabrics, your art, your pillows, maybe even with your rugs. Try to mix everything up. Again, make the room look a little bit more layered and pulled together over time. Something else to consider when you're thinking about your existing pieces. I personally am finding myself in a situation where I'm downsizing. I'm leaving a house for another house that's not even half the size. It's less than half the size of the other house. I'm having to get rid of a lot of things, and I want to make sure that I keep the things that I truly love. Some of these pieces were made to be used in a larger house. If you're going to be squeezing some larger pieces into smaller rooms, be very, very careful not to make that room feel so heavy. So think about some lightness that you can bring in with these larger, older pieces. It can be done. You just have to stop, take the time to step back and look at that room in a fresh way and look at these pieces. Make good decisions about keeping those items that really, really make you happy. What I'm finding is maybe it's time to let go of some pieces and to actually buy the perfect piece that will go in that new, smaller house in that special place. Remember, you're fixing this house for yourself. I'm realizing when you get a little bit older, you want what you want and you want it to look the way you want it to look, and you don't want regrets. Think very carefully about what you decide to place in a new space, or if you're redoing a space, what you want to do to make it look fresh and to make it look perfect. Things to think about. Tip number 1, don't be afraid to have a little box or a drawer, maybe a tray that has your paint sample, fabric sample, your tile sample, floor samples, carpet samples. Anything you're going to use in that room, keep it in a little box or drawer or tray. I kept that in a car when working on a project. And if I found myself at a fabric store that I was driving by, didn't know was there, an antique store, anything at all, I could take that in with me and make sure that everything was going to match. I actually went to a funeral out of state, had that in the back of my car, forgot about it. And while I was waiting to go to that funeral, I had a little bit of time, ducked into an antique store to kill about an hour because I was early, was able to buy some pillows for nothing that matched everything perfectly because I had all of those things in my car to match. You never know when you're gonna run into this stuff. That's how you find your bargains. Make sure you have something like that. What I found out later in life, after I've been doing this forever, this is how the pros do it. They have special trays that they buy that are basically their inspiration boards. They use it to show their clients so they can get a feel for the room and feel comfortable with the look. So it is a great way for you to get comfortable with the choices that you're making. Tip number 2, please make the room comfortable. It can be gorgeous and be comfortable too. But think about the comfort. This is your home. If you're doing a guest room, you're inviting people into this guest room and you want them to feel comfortable. So please be practical and make the room comfortable. Let's say you go visit someone at a house, you're sitting on their sofa, and the sofa is so deep that you don't feel comfortable enough sitting. You can't put your feet on the floor. It's not comfortable. Always make sure that there are pillows, either little kidney pillows or back pillows that people can put behind them so they can find a comfortable sitting arrangement. Another thing to think about, it's not just comfort, is it usable? Is it inviting? I remember a long time ago buying dining room chairs at an antique store to put around my table. I found out very quickly that your average human could not fit or sit on those chairs. It was horrible. The first time I had a party, somebody came, sat down, and I could hear the chair breaking. Why did I do that? Because I thought, well, they look pretty, but it has to be usable, it has to be comfortable, and it has to be inviting. So make sure when you're making all those decisions around the room, whatever it is, think about somebody coming in and using it. And would it be comfortable? Can they use it? And can someone of any size come in that room and be comfortable? Tip number 3, I say this all the time, It's the same when you're getting dressed for work in the morning or when you're decorating a room. Only one thing can be the thing. Only one thing needs to be what stands out. You can't wear a bunch of different things, different styles, pattern over pattern, and big jewelry and all the things and have a special look. You have to be very, very careful. It's the same with the room. Decide what's going to be important about that room and then focus on that. If there's too much eye candy in the room, people can't focus, and then it's not inviting and it's not comfortable. Tip number 4, always give yourself the opportunity in every space to have a wow moment. That could be a very special, unique light fixture. It could be a wonderful antique find in a store, maybe an unusual lamp. Maybe it's a fantastic fabric that you found somewhere and you just put it on one little pillow in the corner of the room. But give yourself one really special wow moment that makes your room look different from everybody else's. I can't tell you how many times I am shopping for looks on Pinterest, on Houzz, even on Bed Bath & Beyond or Wayfair or Overstock.com, any of those apps all start to look the same. If you're looking at outdoor furniture, if you're looking at indoor furniture, they all have basically the same thing. What is going to make your room stand apart from everything you're seeing out there? It's going to be that wow moment. So think about that one very special thing that you can put in the room that makes it stand out. And tip number 5, this is not just for indoor spaces. All of these steps can be used for outdoor spaces too. If you're decorating a front porch, if you're decorating a patio, a side yard, a back porch, all of the above, you can use all of these tips to have a beautiful space. And if you want to see how we use these 8 steps of decorating, watch this.